This looks so gorgeous. Hi, I'm Amy Traverso, Senior Food Editor at Yankee magazine and co-host of Weekends with Yankee. And today I'm going to be making Malfatti, which is an Italian recipe for little spinach dumplings. It's incredibly simple. This is the dish that my family makes for every holiday, and I'm going to start by cooking over at the stove. So we start out with just 4 ingredients, and the first one is 4 tablespoons of salted butter. Now this is over medium heat. This is a ½ cup of finely diced onion, so that's going to go in there, and it just needs to soften, which usually takes about 6 minutes at medium heat. You want them to be translucent and soft. You don't need to brown them. If you can believe it, this is actually 2 10-ounce frozen blocks of spinach that I've defrosted and I've squeezed the moisture out. And I'm going to cook this with the onions until I cook off as much liquid as I can. To get the texture you want for these dumplings, you don't want a lot of water in the mixture because then you'll have to use more flour and they'll get heavy. So that's why we're just going to kind of work this around and cook it until the mixture kind of gets a little bit dried out. The spinach will absorb some of the fat from the butter and you'll have just a nice dry mixture. I can hear a little bit of crackling. That's the sound you want to hear. It means it's been cooked enough. I'm going to turn the heat off and I'm going to add my ricotta. And this is basically how it should look when it's mixed. You can see that the ricotta is kind of spread throughout the spinach. It's just a nice even mixture. So we're going to take this over to a bowl to let it cool down and add the rest of the ingredients. So to my spinach mixture, I'm now going to add 3/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. That is seasoning and flavor and texture. And now I'm going to add 2 large eggs. I'm going to add 3/4 cup of flour, and I'm going to see how it feels. You can add anywhere between 3/4 cup and 1 cup, depending on how moist your mixture is. So start light, because the less flour you use, the lighter the dumplings will be. But you need to use enough or else they'll fall apart, as I learned on an Easter Sunday when I was cooking a dinner for my large family. It was really a horror show. I was so upset. I was trying to make them really light and they just dissolved in the water. Now for seasoning, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt and a ½ teaspoon each of pepper and nutmeg. If you have not experienced the joy of nutmeg with spinach, it is a really good flavor combination. So now this just all gets mixed together, and then I'm going to check to see if it's holding together. If it's not, I'll add a little more flour. This needs to go into the fridge to chill for at least an hour, but honestly, kind of 3 or 4 hours gives you the best result and makes the rolling easier. My dough has been chilled and I've been rolling some of these balls to just get a head start. So I'm going to show you how I do it. It's very simple. I'm just going to kind of dust my hands with some flour because this gets a little messy. Don't worry about it. You can always rinse your hands midway through. And you take about a walnut-sized ball of the dough and you just roll it between your palms and put it here. Now the name Malfatti is sort of a rough translation of Italian for badly made or roughly made. And that's because this is a very rustic dish. They're not badly made, they're delicious, but yeah, they're rustic. It's almost like the filling of a spinach ravioli without the dough around it. And I love it, and I also love the simplicity of not having to make a pasta dough. To cook these, you simply boil them in a big pot of salted water until they rise to the top and float. It's really easy. My cooked dumplings smell so good. It's like really comforting, but also feels healthy because it's got greens and protein. So the way you serve this is you pour some sauce over it. I've got some marinara sauce here, but if you want it, you could use a bolognese as well. This makes a great vegetarian main course, but you can also add the meat in the sauce and then sprinkle with more Parmesan. And then I just put this in the oven at about 350. I just want everything to heat up. I want to cook off any cooking liquid that's at the bottom of the bowl, and I want the cheese to melt a bit, and then it's done and ready to serve. This looks so gorgeous. I'm so happy with it. And I love how it's red, white, and green, which are the colors of the Italian flag. So I'm gonna just give it a little taste. They're perfect. They're like creamy and substantial, but like it's a lot of greens and a lot of good sort of vegetable flavor. And then the tangy marinara sauce playing off that creaminess. It's just perfect. For the full recipe, visit newengland.com.